I've lived in this neighborhood for 5 years. It's a quiet place. Most people are inside by 9 p.m. I usually wait until midnight to walk my dog, Cooper. Cooper is a German Shepherd mix. He has a lot of energy, but he's aggressive toward other dogs. Walking him late at night is the only way to avoid a confrontation. It was usually peaceful. I liked the silence. I liked the way the streetlights hummed. But things changed last Tuesday.
There's a house on the corner of Miller Street. It's been boarded up since I moved here. Nobody ever goes in. Nobody ever comes out. The yard is overgrown with tall weeds that reach the porch. Around 12:15 a.m., Cooper and I were passing by it. Cooper stopped. He didn't bark. He just stared at the second-floor window. I tried to pull him along, but he wouldn't budge. He planted his paws and low growled at the house. I looked up. I expected to see nothing but plywood, but there was a faint blue light moving behind the gaps in the wood on the attic window. It wasn't a flashlight. It looked like a screen, like someone was sitting in the dark watching a tablet or a small TV. I stood there for a minute. The street was completely silent. Then the light clicked off. I heard a sound like a window being slid shut very slowly. I didn't think much of it at first, but the way Cooper was acting felt different.
The next night, I felt uneasy. I tried to take a different route, but Cooper kept pulling toward Miller Street. As we approached the boarded-up house, I saw something on the front porch. It shouldn't have been there. It was a leather dog collar. I walked closer. It was Cooper's old collar. He had lost it in the woods behind our house 6 months ago. It was sitting perfectly centered on the top step. It looked like it had been cleaned.
I felt my stomach drop. I didn't reach for it. I just looked at the front door. The plywood that had been nailed over it was gone. The door was cracked open about 2 inches. I could hear a faint scratching sound coming from inside, like fingernails on wood. Cooper started to growl. It was a low, deep sound. Suddenly, the door handle began to turn from the inside. It was moving slowly, clicking with every millimeter. I didn't wait. I grabbed Cooper and ran. I didn't stop until I was inside my own house. I looked out my window. The street was empty. But the attic light in the corner house was back on, and this time it was bright red. It stayed on all night. I haven't seen the light since, but every morning when I check my front porch, I find a small pile of Cooper's favorite treats sitting by the door. I don't buy that brand anymore.
I take my golden retriever Bailey to the local park every night at 1 a.m. It's a small park with a circular walking path that takes exactly 10 minutes to complete. It's usually deserted, but for an entire week, I noticed a man sitting on a bench near the exit. The man wore a heavy work jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. He never had a dog. He never had a phone. Every time I passed him, the man would do the same thing. He would lift a silver stopwatch, click it, and then write something in a small notebook. He never looked at me. He never looked at Bailey. He just stared at the watch. I thought it was weird, but I figured it was just an obsession. On the 6th night, I decided to test him. I walked very slowly, almost a crawl. As I approached the bench, I saw the man's thumb hovering over the button. I passed him. Click.
I then started to jog. I did a full lap in record time. As I came around again, the man was ready. Click. I felt a wave of fear. The man was timing me. I decided to leave early. I headed for the exit, but the man got up. He didn't run. He just started walking behind me. Every time I sped up, he sped up. Every time I slowed down, he did too. We were perfectly synced. I reached my car. I fumbled with my keys. I looked back. The man had stopped about 20 feet away near a tall oak tree. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his stopwatch. He clicked it one last time, wrote something in his book, and then turned around and walked back into the darkness. I drove home and called the police.
The police found the bench, but the man was gone. On the ground where he had been standing, they found a single piece of paper. It had my license plate number written on it, followed by a list of times. The last time on the list was 1:14:02 a.m. That was the exact second I had closed my car door.
Below that, there was one more entry. It said, "Execution, 42 seconds." I haven't been back to that park since, but 2 weeks later, I saw the same man standing outside my apartment at 1:14 a.m. He was just standing there, holding the watch, waiting for the next lap to begin.
The final story is the most disturbing. It happened to me 3 nights ago. I was walking Cooper near the elementary school. It's a wide open area, but at 2 a.m. the lights are dimmed. I noticed a silver sedan idling near the bus stop. No headlights, no interior lights. I didn't think much of it until I turned the corner. 2 minutes later, I heard the sound of tires on gravel. The silver sedan turned the corner too. It stayed exactly 1 block behind me. It didn't speed up, it just crawled along. I started to get nervous. I decided to take a shortcut through a narrow pedestrian alleyway that leads back to my block. Cars can't fit through there. I figured I would lose them. I hurried through the alley. Cooper was pulling hard. He knew I was scared.
The alley was narrow and smelled like damp concrete. I kept looking back, but the entrance was empty. I thought I was safe, but when I reached the end of the alley, I stopped dead. The silver sedan was already there. It was idling right at the exit. I don't know how it got there so fast. They were waiting for me.
The driver's side window began to roll down. The driver was a man in his 50s. He held his hand out the window. In his grip was a blue nylon dog leash. It looked brand new. He said, "You dropped this last week." His voice was dry. I looked at the leash. Then I looked at the leash in my hand. I didn't take it. I said, "That's not mine." The man just stared at me. Then he said, "Check yours." I looked down at Cooper. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. My leash wasn't whole. Someone had used a knife to cut 3/4 of the way through the nylon near the handle. It was held together by only a few threads. If Cooper had pulled just a little harder, the leash would have snapped instantly.
I looked back at the car. The man wasn't holding the leash anymore. He was holding a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters. He started to open the car door. I didn't stay. I ran into the nearest yard and started screaming. The sedan sped off. I don't walk Cooper at midnight anymore because I still don't know when they got close enough to cut my leash, and I don't know why they wanted him to get loose.